been in an LDR for almost 6 months now. I almost feel like it's dwindling at times. We see each other on weekends, mostly every other weekend. He used to talk about marriage all the time, and ever since I told him I expected a proper proposal with a ring, he stopped his talk. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm just going to throw some thoughts out here at you and let them sink in whatever way they sink, right? And so you have expectations, right? And expectations kind of, what they do is they kind of impose your will upon somebody, right? You're like, this is what I expect from you, right? I expect that you're going to bring me this ring, and it's going to be this kind of ring, and you're going to get down on one knee, and you're going to, do all this other stuff, right? And all of a sudden he's like, what that feels when you tell a guy that kind of stuff is he feels trapped, right? You don't want him to feel trapped. Instead, you want him to feel like he wants to express his love to you, right? If you're throwing all these expectations on him, it's going to dampen that, right? Instead of trying to force him to do things that you want him to do, you want to open things up so that he can choose what he wants to do, right? He might choose to not get you a ring. I'm sure there's people out there that do that. I haven't heard much of that happening. But if he chooses not to get you a ring, he chooses not to get you a ring. Right? If he chooses to get your ring, he chooses to get your ring. And his choices, while you might make suggestions or you might say certain things are attractive or whatever, giving him some kind of expectation like, hey, I expect this and I expect that and I expect we're going to have this big wedding and all these things, right? It just makes a guy feel like it's not about your love for each other anymore. And instead, it's about this thing that has absolutely nothing to do with the two of you, right? So if you're telling him that he has to have this ring and you've got to have this kind of a wedding and it's got to happen this way and all these different things, it goes from an expression of his love for you and how much he loves you and how much he cares about you and how much it's about him connecting with you and showing how much you mean to him, to there's this woman who is trying to fit me into this box of what she expects out of me instead of it being about this celebration of our love, right? And so, yeah, I mean, my suggestion is that you stop doing stuff like that completely, right? Never do that again, right? Don't talk in that way at all about anything ever again, because that while you're expressing what you want, it sounds like you're doing it in a way that is really ineffective, right? There's things that work and there's things that don't work. What doesn't work is telling somebody what your expectations are of them in a romantic relationship that somebody chooses to be in, right? Unless that's something that they like, right? There are certain people who they want to be told what to do, right? They're like, hey, I want to know what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And you tell them what to do and they're like, great, I'm going to go do that. But if you do that with somebody, especially around something this important, right? Like getting married is a pretty important thing. You might have wanted to test that out, that way of talking out on smaller things before you throw in the I'm expecting this specific ring and all these other things kind of thing together, because it can totally destroy all of his thoughts, all of his romance, all of the things that make him want to do that with you, and instead make it feel like it's this painful thing that he absolutely has to have that he doesn't want to do. So I hope that kind of helps you kind of understand what's going on through the psychology of that. You can make suggestions and stuff, but I mean, do you want to be told what to do all the time? Do you want to be like, oh, when you come to my house, this is what I'm expecting. I'm expecting you to cook me dinner every time and, wash my clothes. And, like, do you want to be in a relationship? Some people do, right? But it sounds like that guy that you're seeing doesn't. And so my suggestion is that instead of trying to force him to do stuff like that, that you allow him to choose what he's going to do for you, right? That's the difference between force and power, right? Power is coming from a place where you have a decision where you can walk away or you can accept or reject, but you're not trying to make somebody do something, right? You're allowing them to do something and you might help guide them, but you're not forcing them. You're not trying to make them do something.